Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Marvel Rivals Championship game here in Season 2.5. And I have brought another guest. It is my Ignite EMEA casting colleague of Ryan. Central is here. How are you doing, buddy?
Hello. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I love stuff like this where it's just, sort of pulling up your boots kind of thing, just getting the reps in. Pros always talk about practice and stuff, and we're no different, are we? We need to get the reps in, and especially with like all of the stuff happening in Ignition everywhere, I just want to catch up and watch as much Marvel Rivals as I can. So it should be good practice. People get to see a bit behind the scenes.
Absolutely, and with the fact that this is MRC and the top two teams from each region automatically qualify for Ignite, they don't have to go through open qualifiers, is wild. And we're literally watching potentially the talent of tomorrow that we will have to cast in seasons to come. We're going to be jumping in with the Pacific games today, so these teams are going to be trying to compete for those Asia spots, as Oceania does not have that qualifying spot from the MRC. We're jumping in with our teams, Nova, and we can't read that tag, never mind, I'm glad I didn't show that on screen yet. We're jumping in with SquadNova and Cat Assembly.
Be interesting to see how like bands look as well, because for so many, it feels like every tournament it has like got progressively bigger with the sort of picks and bands that you can get, and obviously a lot more complicated. But this is sort of the standard to go to, isn't it? That we saw in the qualifiers for Ignite, the championship as well. And I think when it comes to like Asia as a region, I haven't seen too much of like what makes them different. That's the thing that I'm still like getting used to currently. But I do feel like the main thing I keep hearing is they're not afraid to do solo tank triple DPS, which we've seen a little bit of in EMEA, but it has been a glimpse as opposed to the new wave to go forward with.
You're completely right. We did see a lot of differences in Season 0, where Asia was the team that sort of almost exclusively ran the Magneto and Doctor Strange, while we saw America leading a little more on the Venom, and EMEA were mixing it up with the Groot a little bit more. But in this season, like you say, we're starting to branch out into more solo Vanguard compositions, and we're currently using, like you said, the standard draft format as opposed to advanced draft.
Means it is just more about getting what you want on the table. You don't have to worry about, we want this and we want to make sure that the opponent doesn't get it. I think the more surprising thing is that Emma Frost has not been taken out as of yet. But then again, I do think that like in these early stages, it probably is a little bit of just keep the supports online. It feels that that's the thing in the draft that's been hit pretty hard, really, is the amount of Loki that we've seen, the amount of Luna that we've seen in EMEA at the very least, has dropped off of a cliff in comparison to before because of the way that the system works. I'm also surprised about the first ban, Iron Man, and then Ultron as well, because whilst that's the new team up, whilst that's the new duo to be working with, it hasn't passed the eye test. Vibe check for me is like this other stuff in game that feels a little bit scarier than an Iron Man Ultron running at you, or flying at you, I guess.
I quite like that, Emma Frost. Like you said, I've been using a lot of your statistics in EMEA, where you've been, literally today, I had a look in the Discord, and you have been creating threat levels for a character. And Loki, Luna, Magneto especially, and Emma are all extremely high in the protections or the bans, being almost picked in every single game so far.
The right heroes could make all
Now,
the difference.
See what exactly people are trying to pick up as well. Of course, it's a different system too, where the thing I really like with Ignite is that the first round is always domination.
Yes.
Like you get that King of the Hill game mode, and then the other game modes have to be different to the one that you've already played, which has been straightforward so far for EMEA at the very least, because it has been best of 3, okay, 3 different map types. When we get to best of 5s and things reset, that's where it should get a little bit interesting. But I'm also really keen to cast Central Park. I haven't actually casted this map yet. I watched a lot of VODs, and I feel like one of the things that surprised me still is just how good Human Torch is here. Like, caught a couple of like Tanuki's games, a couple of either scrims or officials that were left unprivated, and he was just demolishing people. But here it's looking like it's going to be all of the boots on the ground. And we get to see a little bit of finesse, I suppose, as the Iron Fist is going to be taken out by Dick Shy.
Dakeshire getting that little bit of 50 armor, utilizing the team up from that Penny Parker and Rocket Raccoon, which is receiving a little bit of a nerf going into the next patch that we saw announced yesterday at the time of me recording. Also, look at this double melee duelist here coming in from SquadNova. Only their backline and Doctor Strange are ranged here, and they've even got the Venom. This is such a heavy dive composition.
Yeah, it's all about timing and coordination, but when you've got the Iron Fist potentially lurking behind you, you might not get that chance. It seems that you do have that dive hitting, but it's on multiple different targets. The Venom finding the first pick and synergizing really nicely, actually, with the Black Panther of Wah Wah. Means that this Dakeshire has been almost just the scenic route, just jumping around to see if he can find a pick, but it's been a little bit isolated from a lot of these fights that are happening.
Penny has managed to sneak around into the flank. This is what we did see a little bit of from Dusty in EMEA, where they did try flanking Penny to sort of cut off reinforcements, drop those stuns, and see if they could go for any traps with that spider time when the enemy team is forced to retreat if your team gets the push in. And right now, the lockdowns are good. They've got armor. They've got healing. They are set up in here for the long haul. Never mind. Goodbye.
Yeah, Zeta eventually pulled out. The water's fine. You can get out of your little shelter. It's more the fact that nobody else is here from Cat Assembly. It's just Zeta's little pull up a deck chair, sort of turn on the radio and relax a little bit and just keep that pressure up in that position. But on the actual point itself, it seems to still be SquadNova just holding on for dear life, pushing everything back for the time being. Cat Assembly have to reset. I think Zeta is still in that room. I'm not quite too sure.
Yeah, they don't
still,
really...
yeah, he's still here. He's still here.
They don't really have a reason to deal with him. He's slowly making a path all the way. That is a mistake by the Wolverine, getting caught completely in the Bionic Spider Nest, gets eaten there. But they're slowly making a path to expend those Bionic Spider Nest webs. There's the Blast Descent coming in from Wawa on the other side. Was able to take out Dakeshire. And yeah, while Zeta's getting value back here in terms of getting some damage and some lockdown, their team's nowhere near them, so they can't capitalize on it.
This is so weird. It's a very lore-accurate spider of just, like, especially the ones in my garden, just by the fence. If you go near it, it'll jump out, but otherwise it's going to keep to itself. But it is just pulling themselves into this fight. Zyda doesn't really want to be involved in the fight, but he's going to pull out the Spider Sweeper to just create a little bit more space in these engagements. Cat Assembly still just trying to push on. 90 seconds just above on the point, but near finding two with the Feast of the Abyss. It's chaotic, but this backline, these melee duelists diving in on the right opponents, Cat Assembly have really not been able to do anything on this point.
Pushing on through, getting the pickups, and yeah, Zeta, they were finally taken out and respawned at the BRB miles away from those traps they set up, forced to regroup with the team, and now they have to push from the front line, which is not exactly where Penny wants to be. You don't have self-shielding outside of your own web from that bonus health, forcing Doctor Strange Cloak of Levitation to get out of danger. SquadNova have set up just such an insane containment last stand into the regeneration domain to shut it down.
I mean, it's a hefty dedication. You do get the regen domain out, but it's everything that followed the mainstream, just absolutely butchering everybody. And at this point, Cat Assembly, no progression on the point at 0%, playing for a draw at most if they don't get anything else done. Being kept outside their spawn doors with 30 seconds left.
Trying to make their way in to try and push up for that point, but Wolverine is just grabbing away over and over again. Drops low regeneration domain for the defensive side. SquadNova are holding this out as Warhor is waiting for that regeneration domain to expire. And for a Blast Descent, huge burst damage, but not enough for a finishing blow here.
It's just a battle off of the point, but 8 seconds, there needs to be an actual touch of the point, otherwise at overtime, this fight, even if it doesn't go the way of SquadNova, even if everybody gets downed at this stage, they've bought so much time and so many ultimates that nothing can be done. 0%. Only just a smidgen on the point that is required for the team that's defended to go and attack next. And I will say, to Cat Assembly's credit, a lot of the actual first point hits that we've seen on Central Park from EMEA at the very least, and even like America's Fight Night, stuff like that, have required like creative ideas, using the Doctor Strange portal with a turret from Punisher, for example. Other things have just been able to get in behind him in the map with a Doctor Strange portal. It feels that you can't really just go route one on this map without running into a lot of problems. But Cat Assembly went Route 1, and then put Zeta in the room next to the point, and he chilled out there for about a few minutes.
Zeta wrapped around on the flank, but like you said, no one joined them because everyone else took the main pathway where they were just bullied out here, unable to touch the point. They had other options, like you said, they had the Strange Portal to try and go in as that was protected. They had the Groot, which was protected in the draft phase, that they could have used to build a bridge. You can actually build a bridge off on that right-hand side to take everyone around that defensive point, but they see none of that. But here, we are seeing Cat Assembly in a much more traditional Penny Parker situation, making this area as miserable as possible. And they brought out the Scarlet Witch for that Order Magic team-up.
2, 1.
See a little bit more of Scarlet Witch. Craigie made a good point of people aren't really that experienced with playing against her, but to be fair, this whole draft is a lot more about comfort. Wahua trying to go out of the doors, guns blazing, shut down. So Cat Assembly already losing that Penny Parker, so this very forward hold might backfire slightly, and as a reminder, they only need to get a third on the point for SquadNova to actually win this map.
Wei got taken down, but brought back at the BRB, meaning they are not available to portal their team. They now go down, but they need to portal reinforcement. Here come the traps, just placed literally middle of the point. They can't afford to try and hide them here. It's all about delays and getting at least some damage onto it, but the freeze onto Zeta takes them down. Wei not even portaling it, got shut down, put on the cooldown here, and that is game number 1, going over to SquadNova.
I wonder if there's a play called Rusho on SquadNova, and I wonder, you know, like in other games you have Rush A, Rush B, is Rusho like Rush Objective? Because he pretty much just held W all the way there, and he got it in a pretty early time. But yeah, it's a grueling one. These sort of convergence game modes can be really difficult, and it is so momentum based that if you can take that first objective and just keep your ultimate economy in check. We saw some really quick times from other teams. EMEA, I can't remember who it was, but they did it in the whole of the map in 3.5 minutes, which is a ridiculous time to be saying.
I don't know
I can't remember
which
who
one
it
was that. We've seen a couple fast
It
ones.
was day 2. It was when you and Moxie were casting.
I'll have to
I'm
have
trying to
a
remember
think
off
on
the
that one.
top of my head
The
who
one
it
that's
was.
currently in my head, because it was more recent, was Blood Karyudo's first point on Symbiotic Surface versus Low 9, where they captured the first point in less than 20 seconds.
That's crazy.
It was so fast. It was portal into just everything goes down.
Yeah, but for you to do those kind of plays, it has to be... There's usually something behind it, whether it's a pole play, whether it's just some, like, flank in the timing. And I think the thing that we did see from SquadNova that was really impressive was just not only the fact that Rusho didn't get eliminated once, and neither did Nia, but it was just the timing of being able to dive on a target. I think Rusho was on the Venom beforehand as well, right?
Believe
Or
so.
no, that would have been Nia, actually. He was on Magic. But still, you've got your front line, your tanks, your vanguards haven't gone down at all, which shows how much respect that they were potentially given. So it's going to be hard. You look at these games and you go to the second map and you think it could be more of the same. But I'm hoping that at least from Cat Assembly that we see Cider show off a little bit more on the Penny, because it did feel that they were probably a Penny enthusiast. They did a lot of damage, but ultimately didn't quite get anything out on the attacking side.
I wouldn't mind to see if they're gonna at least keep the Penny, if, like you said, they are a Penny enthusiast and don't want to swap off. Because, let's be honest, Penny is about controlling an area, and you're against 4 melee characters. It can get some really solid damage output, which is why we see it at that 9k, topping literally anyone on the side of SquadNova. They need to mix it up with the second Vanguard. With Doctor Strange just getting isolated by Wolverine a little too often, maybe you need to play a little more defensive. Hulk for that indestructible guard to protect you, yourself and that Penny and your backline. Potentially the Thing to prevent all these dashes. We saw it played a little bit, but to break the siege, as opposed to actually brawling on the fight where they already had a positional advantage. Potentially a triple Vanguard composition to deal with it that way to prevent these quick blow-ups. But we'll be finding that out as we get prepared for map number 2. We could, like you say, also see them swap off of the Penny, but against this much melee, either way, it's just so hard to draft into this.
Yeah, it's also like, for me at least, it's sort of relatively new to casting Marvel Rivals. Like, reading the scoreboard is tricky because stats can lie, as much as people would like to say that, like, it can give you all of the information you need. If you look at it the wrong way, like, for example, we sort of mentioned about, like, damage done. If we do see, like, the Penny Pack doing a lot of damage, I looked at the Loki's healing, the one with, like, the emoji name. They had 20k healing in a very, very short game. It was literally 4 times the amount of healing than the Rocket Raccoon did on the side of Cat Assembly. So, like, yeah, you could have your Penny PAC do a ton of damage. Punishers are notorious for this at the moment, I feel like. You can look at their damage and go, wow, they're so impactful. Yeah, but none of that damage actually leads to an elimination. All it does is give Loki his ultimate 400 times in a game because he's healing all of that back up. It's like trash damage. So
Extremely true.
that's where I think some of the like melee characters can really shine. A Psylocke might have half the damage done alongside their Punisher. Half the damage that a Punisher has done is what I mean. But all of that is to just take somebody from 100 to 0. That's the thing that like ultimately wins you games, is the eliminations themselves.
Very true. Getting rid of these people, like you say, all that trickle damage. Those stuns were effective, but with no one there to follow up on it, no one there to finish them, it is just going to stack up those ultimates, stack up that healing output. We will see the magic protected as the Black Panther is banned out here. Cat Assembly are playing aggressively in this ban phase, trusting the fact that they don't know anything about SquadNova. These teams will be meeting each other for the first time and are basically committing to, I sure hope they're one tricks.
Yeah. I mean, this is again like it's sort of the disparity, I suppose, between like playing in my games and then obviously like the Invitational and stuff like that and Ignite. That I don't. And this is why series like this are great, because I haven't. I think that's the first time I've casted an Iron Fist. To be fair, there wasn't really much to talk about with a Dig Shy, but like it'll be the first time that I'll cast a Magic and stuff like that. Like. Obviously, with Black Panther, we got a little bit of Tanuki, so I don't feel out of my depth there. But it is kind of cool to see that level of just comfort is everything. We're so used to seeing the likes of Virtus Pro be able to play any character that is needed. But looking at some of the teams that are coming up in Asia, just seeing them before they start to potentially go big and spread out their hero pool a bit more. Like seeing Magic and Iron Fist protected in a draft, I would very much doubt that we'll see that in EMEA or Americas like anytime soon. This is wild, but I love it.
I think you're probably right. This is definitely a bit more unique, but again, we're playing with teams who are attempting to get to this highest level of play and being a little bit harder to draft against. It's where teams like Shamungus have really gained some advantage. You mentioned Craggy earlier. No one else is playing that Scarlet Witch, and no one is going to be scrimming it because why would you? There's only one team that plays it, so unless you literally have your next match versus Shamungus, you have to go to another team and say, hey, can you please run this so we can practice? You're not going to be prepared for a draft of this style. We also see the Ultron sneak through the draft this time, as we do still see that Iron Man taken away.
Are they looking to just double support with the Ultron? I guess with Luna Snow, you can make it work because the healing output for Luna is absurdly strong. And you also do get to put the drone on somebody as well as the Idol Aura, which works when you have both Magic and Iron Fist and Wolverine on your team. Like, you're not just putting them on one target, you can divvy them out. But it does feel a bit like a Diner Dash, I suppose, of like, all right, I'm going to put my Idol Aura on Magic, you do it on Wolverine. Oh, the Iron Fist needs healing. Are you going to do it? Am I going to do it? It's so like interesting to see some of the ideas that are pushing through, but we do see a little bit of Emma Stone as well. The solo tanking approach for this one. Yeah, SquadNova's comp is definitely very interesting. Cat Assembly copying elements of it.
They are
taking the Hulk and the Emma. I keep saying Emma Stone, Emma Frost. I don't know why that. But yeah, carry on.
It's all good. They somehow have listened to us without being able to hear us and also being in the past. As they do go for that Hulk, they have the Namor to try and protect the backline, and they're going to run the Emma Frost of their own, using that Carbon Crush to try and punish any of the divers. But a little bit of a dive into the backline means there's going to be no healing as the air is pushing on back. They've got only melee characters, plus Sword of Emma, plus the Ultron and the Luna. They're just able to dive back with Emma, the Iron Fist, the Magic, the Wolverine. They're all going to get that AoE healing if they stay near each other, as that drone does have an aura with that Imperative Patch. And then, of course, Imperative Firewall will top everyone up with that little bit of bonus health.
I think that's the one thing that SquadNova, even though the comp is a little bit...
See if I can fix that. Hello, hopefully I have brought you back, as we did have a Discord disconnect. Potentially. Okay, going. Hopefully Ryan will be able to rejoin me in just a moment, as we do see Wei focused down by Dusky, getting the pickup on the backline. Zeta finished off by that percentage damage from the Wolverine, really able to burst through that Emma Frost. Hale sieging away with that Namor. We don't seem to have a Ryan back yet. Picked up, pulled into the back line. And I'm going to have a quick pause. Alright, we are back. I'm going to hit play again in a second. Ryan did have a little bit of a disconnect, but we are all back, and I'm so glad you are back.
Yeah, me too. I don't know how much it was that being able to jump in. I don't know how much I was heard when I was saying about, like, it didn't really matter for, like, SquadNova's comp what they were playing, because the coordination has been really, like, top dollar from them. That they are able to coordinate and dive onto the same target, go from there, and yeah, I mean, so far it's looking very one-sided towards them.
Very much seems to be, as we are jumping back in. Hale, one of the defensive characters, is trying to back away. Doesn't get hit by that last stand. Will get melted. Sorry, Hale did get hit by the last stand. Completely taken down. And Meow with the invisible boundary to make sure that they can sustain all the way through, but is pulled out of it by Huahua. That is such a big pickup. If you can get that invisible woman out of that invisible boundary, and then they don't get their healing, they can be taken down, and if they go down, so does the boundary.
Yeah, a couple of the hero changes that are coming in for Cat Assembly. Half their time expired. Zada's moved over to the Hawkeye. Just seeing if there's enough burst damage. Never mind, they're actually going to go for the Venom. Yeah, Death Child was used from Dakeshire, but pretty much taken out instantly by Nokia. With all of these ultimates, the problem is going to be Huahua that seems to just be 100% on Rage for the consistent amount of time on the Wolverine. But then also the Emma Frost being able to just have full charge on the left. So much damage is coming through. Cat Assembly need to get something together.
Big pickup by Dakeshire might be starting to create an opening. The Moon Knight is the option here, trying to get onto Nokia, who is one of the most sustaining backline divers with this melee damage dealer, but is already able to pick up the quadruple, melting through Cat Assembly. Wei is in the base again, waiting for their team to respawn, as they don't want to get caught out, but they do have this Hulk smash, the Monster Hulk transformation at the ready, but they lose the ult down to 50% cast a curse.
It means that SquadNova can just sort of sit on the ultimates that they have available, Fate of Both Worlds and the Rage of Ultron. So support ultimates might be needed. Lockyer went to pretty low HP, but has healed themselves up. It's such a hard hold, and I think Moxie was talking about this in previous week in the BMEA, where this first point should be favored for the attackers because you are on the high ground going low. But if SquadNova is just going to completely cut off this choke and fight outside the spawn doors, yeah, makes no difference to them, I suppose. Now damage is starting to be done. Norky has been taken out, and a stun coming in onto the Ultron at the very least. Rage of Ultron still just being sat on. Ultimate's now expended on the defensive side, and no time to actually contest at all from Cat Assembly. 0% really progressed on any of the points that they've had so far this series.
Less than an Olympic sprint down. 46 meters are achieved by Cat Assembly, meaning we now move over to SquadNova's push. And you mentioned it, this is looking very one-sided so far. So SquadNova can really just play almost anything. But this is the kind of overconfidence that can cost you if Cat Assembly are able to create a nice containment. The Groot could be a really solid choice to lock in here with this Penny to just try and, well, you can't run at us if there's a wall in the way. Try and at least defend it that way.
I wonder really now for SquadNova, they don't need to have the point pushed up an awful lot. The first choke can really take it out of you. Even some of the top teams from Ignite were struggling to get particularly far on this first part of the map. But really, I think it's just Nokia being able to flex over to the different melee characters. And Zyda as well. We were like, oh yeah, this is a Penny Parker-like player. And they've played almost every other role since. We saw a little bit of tank. Now they've moved over to the Human Torch. It feels that this is just a last-ditch attempt. You've got the Emma Frost Groot as the tank line. And yeah, you have to hold just as aggressively as SquadNova were able to do because you have a lot of time to kill, and that point, that objective doesn't need to travel far.
Dekshai on the punish. They're going to try and hold this with a culling turret, as we've lost a lot of the melee for SquadNova. But that turret goes down extremely quickly and completely sniped. With so many shots coming in, Cat Assembly are down to 2, make it 1 as Meow is forced to retreat through the portal. Blaster Barrage, they are taken out as well. Zeta is going to try and portal back in. The card isn't actually moving that fast because the team is just rushing to see if they can catch anyone, so no one's actually on the point.
Oh, they get Dakeshot just as the TP was going to be used from Zyda, so does mean that you're a player down. You had to use the regeneration domain very, very early in this engagement. And you're trying to like swap the spawns a little bit more, force it to be a bit more comfortable for SquadNova to be taking this fight. But as time goes on, you are going to be hit by this sort of two-pronged approach. That's why everybody started to be broken apart. Dakeshot finally in the fight, immediately out of the fight. Not much chance for Cat Assembly to stop this from going now.
No one is even close. They've used all of the fast rollouts here. Their best pick now would be Jeff or Cat, and they're not even close to being able to get that there in time. That is going to be a clean 2-0, going over to SquadNova in very strong fashion. Unique drafts, and the fact is, if this is how they play, it's very unique, it's hard to bat against. If it's not how they play and they're just playing this due to confidence, they've shown nothing of their style and meta to potential opponents in the future, as all these replays are available to the public.
Oh, for sure. So I think it's one of those ones that you can look at and go, okay, yeah, it's a very early game for the like Asia region for this stage of the championship. But kind of like you said, I think that with SquadNova looking so dominant, really, I think there's only been like maybe a dozen eliminations against them so far this series. They haven't shown anything. If anything, they've shown just how flexible these players are. It didn't feel like they were just going for like a meta composition, just kind of in and out, clock in and out, get these games out the way. That they were confident to be able to switch to different stuff. And most importantly, the coordination was there. Every like team play that was needed from these guys looked cohesive and solid, and there were definitely elements of Cat Assembly when they were playing. It didn't feel like they were even in the same voice chat, like Zyda in his little bunker spot over on the first map. It's those kind of elements that felt that this is night and day difference between how good these two teams are.
16 final hits alone for Nokia. And here's an interesting comparison. Only 3 final hits for Cat Assembly, and but 4 times getting KO'd for the side of SquadNova, implying that someone walked off the map accidentally.
Yeah, maybe somebody fell off the map, or they jumped off of the map to try and reset quickly, but it wouldn't surprise me at the rate that this game has gone, especially when you got Dakeshot playing the Spider-Man, that a very poorly timed swing might send you right off some of the corners. But regardless, yeah, like SquadNova showing an awful lot. Rusho hasn't died at all this series, because I think he didn't have any like eliminations against him over on the first map either. So a pretty dominant performance, to say the very least. But that is to be expected in a system like this. Not every game is going to be that straightforward for SquadNova going forward.
Very much so. This is the ignition round, so this is going to be the closed qualifier teams, aka the teams that came below that top cut, versus the open qualifier teams, the teams that came in that top 125, I believe, or somewhere in that number. I can't remember the exact amount. But these are the teams that have performed exceptionally well. For example, SquadNova got 27 points, meaning that they went 9-1 in their open qualifier games, easily making it through in that top cut. But like you say, there are teams that went 10-1, or 10-0, sorry, who are going to be obviously a little bit more heavily favored. Someone has already beat this team at least once.
Yeah, I mean, the system's definitely like interesting, and I guess it's really impressive that a system like this is in the game so early, when for other games it's not in the game at all, full stop. So having these kind of like, okay, you did well in the last stage, bit of a relegation promotion dogfight of whether you get into Ignite Stage 2 against some of the up-and-coming teams. But yeah, if you're going to run a form like that, if you realize that the meta is, at least for your damage dealers, your duelists, very flexible and very open, and you have got the non-advanced system of the drafts, it does mean that it's crazy that Emma Frost isn't in here at all. There were also some weird like picks and bans from Cat Assembly full stop, where They picked the Invisible Woman, for example, and never used them.
Yeah, it was
And I think they
protected.
did that on the first map as well, where they saved Loki or Luna Snow, whichever, because they were both done on either side. But again, they never used them
Yeah.
once. So I don't know what this team is doing. Like I don't know what the thought process is behind that. But that's it's the give and take. It's the showmanship, I suppose, of the esport.
It really is. And speaking of give and take, thank you very much, Ryan, for giving me some of your time here for this recording and for us to get a little bit of practice in before we cast together. What day does this video come out today? It's Wednesday, and I have Thursday. Oh, it's coming out today. So if you tune into it, if you go over to twitch.tv/Marvel Rivals right now, me and Ryan will probably be casting together as the day this video comes out. But
Yeah.
because you've given me some of your time for today, would you be able to tell the audience where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really doing too much forward facing at the moment. Probably is going to be on the Marvel Rival stream with you for EMEA. But my Twitter, my X is just Ryan Central. I sometimes upload YouTube videos, but again, I'm still fully moving over to Marvel Rivals now. All of my other stuff's sort of out the way. And this was the perfect game to practice because yeah, there was a lot of characters in here that I haven't actually had the chance to cast over all that much. So it keeps me on my toes. And at the end of the day, it was just a very fun series. Despite a short one, it was very fun to cast because it was a little bit whimsical, which
Yes, that is certainly
is always
a word
good to
for
see.
it.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Hell yeah, and I would honestly recommend checking out Ryan's channel. If you like your analytical content from some of the other hero shooters, then I was especially enjoying some of your analysis of some of the Valorant tournaments. I very much enjoyed that. This sounds condescending, but I actually mean it. You've got a good head on you.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, I did Overwatch way back when, and then moved into Valorant, and then a little bit of Deadlock. So I'm definitely used to the games and the way.
Oh, that's perfect planning. That's perfect timing.
The...
Oh, welcome back.
Oop.
You disconnected there for a second.
Did I disconnect again for a split second?
Yes, you did. Would you like to repeat what you were saying there?
I can't remember where I started, where I finished, but that sort of sums up this series as a whole, I think. So it's yeah, it's been good to get back to something that is very different with Marvel Rivals, but also very familiar from other games. So yeah, I don't know whether I'd end up making Marvel Rivals content, but I might do a couple of watch parties, especially for the China region, because I did some Valorant China watching. I can't keep away from that region. If you want whimsical, fun, exciting gameplay, it tends to always be China, so maybe keep an eye out for me there.
There's been rumblings that the super teams over there are exceptionally terrifying, so make sure you go check out Ryan. I'll be linking their stuff in the description as well. I'm going to let you go and pause this recording, so I'll do the member shoutouts without bothering you. But again, thank you for joining.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Ryan for joining today, and thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, remember, you can like, comment, and subscribe on the video to help boost it in the algorithm. More interaction means more people will be shown the video, means the viewership goes high, which means I get some AdSense money, and money is useful for living, I've been told. You can also support by hitting that thanks button, which can be a one-time donation if you would be incredibly generous to do so, as I know we are all struggling a little bit these days. So if you have anything spare and decide to send it my way, I will be confused but eternally grateful. And if you want something a little bit more, including a name shout-out, early videos, and more, including if I go to any offline events, a little bit of extra behind-the-scenes content, then you can hit that join button and become a member like these wonderful people. Dump Alt, Lucas Tyson, Arso, Doki Pokey, and John. Thank you all for your support, and thank you all for watching. I have been Tetcher. Big thanks once again to Ryan Central, and I will see you all tomorrow.